My wife moved her boyfriend into our house 3 days after asking for a divorce. She forgot one very important detail. When my wife Jessica asked for a divorce, I honestly wasn't shocked. For the previous year, it felt like we were living separate lives under the same roof. She spent more time on her phone than talking to me, started guarding her passwords like state secrets, and suddenly had girls' weekends almost every month. Deep down, I already knew there was someone else. What surprised me was how fast she stopped pretending. 3 days after asking for the divorce, I came home from work and found a strange pickup truck in my driveway. When I walked inside, a man I'd never met was carrying boxes up the stairs to our bedroom. Jessica looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is Ryan. He'll be staying here for a while." I actually laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Ryan moved into the house that same night. The house I was still paying half the mortgage on. The house my father had helped us buy years earlier. Jessica acted like I was the one making things awkward. They cooked dinner together, watched movies together, and sat on the couch like some happy couple while I slept in the guest room. Every friend who heard the story told me to throw them out immediately. But my attorney gave me different advice. Don't do anything emotional, he said. Just be patient. It was probably the hardest advice I've ever followed. Over the next few weeks, Jessica became increasingly arrogant. She told people our marriage had been over for years. She claimed Ryan came into her life after the divorce conversation. A few mutual friends believed her. Others didn't. What she didn't realize was that her version of events had one major problem. About 6 months before all this happened, I'd installed security cameras around the property after a series of break-ins in the neighborhood. Most of the footage automatically deleted after 30 days, but important clips were backed up to cloud storage. One evening while organizing files, I decided to see how far back Ryan's visits actually went. I didn't have to look long. There he was pulling into my driveway, 8 months before Jessica asked for a divorce. Then again the following week, and the week after that. Sometimes he'd arrive while I was working late. Sometimes he'd stay overnight when I was supposedly out of town visiting clients. The footage alone was bad enough, but then I checked our phone records. Hundreds of calls, thousands of text messages. Their relationship had been going on for nearly a year while Jessica was still publicly posting anniversary photos and telling everyone what a great husband I was. My attorney nearly smiled when I brought him the evidence. In our state, affairs didn't automatically decide a divorce, but they absolutely mattered when marital assets were involved, especially when shared money was being spent on the relationship. We dug deeper and discovered Jessica had been using our joint account for weekend trips, expensive dinners, and hotel stays with Ryan. The total wasn't life-changing money, but it wasn't small either. Every receipt, every transaction, every transfer went into a folder. A few months later, we finally sat down for mediation. Jessica arrived holding Ryan's hand like she'd already won. She demanded the house, a large chunk of my retirement account, and ongoing financial support. Her confidence lasted about 20 minutes. Then my attorney started sliding documents across the table. First came the bank records, then the hotel receipts, then the security footage timestamps. I watched Jessica's face slowly lose color. Ryan spent most of the meeting staring at the floor. By the time the evidence presentation ended, neither of them had much to say. The final agreement looked very different from what Jessica originally wanted. The money she'd spent on the affair was factored into the settlement. The house had to be sold instead of being handed to her. My retirement account stayed intact. The financial support request disappeared completely. When the paperwork was signed, she looked furious. Ryan looked terrified. Reality had finally caught up with both of them. About a year later, I ran into an old neighbor while grabbing coffee. He casually mentioned that Jessica and Ryan weren't together anymore. Apparently, once the excitement of sneaking around was gone, they spent most of their time arguing about money. The house they'd planned to buy never happened. The future they'd bragged about never showed up. I won't lie and say hearing that ruined my day. Looking back, the affair hurt. The divorce hurt. Watching someone you love turn into a stranger is a different kind of pain. But if Jessica had handled things honestly, I probably would have spent years wondering whether I was the reason the marriage failed. Instead, her own choices answered that question for me. If you discovered your partner was cheating, would you confront them immediately or quietly gather proof first?